What's the most popular place to meet a spouse?
Ooh. It's not the mall anymore.
No.
I'm saying, like, where?
Good point.
Is it like when Jannelle and Len met and they walked into a college party, actually?
That's right.
And Len just pointed at
He
Jannelle.
did a Babe Ruth.
Yeah. She was all the way across the
there.
room. He looks around. That one's mine.
You got to let your friends know. Stay away from that one. That was mine.
That's true.
It worked.
I wouldn't recommend that to most anyone, especially in 2021.
I know, right?
Claiming someone of the opposite gender, probably not a great move in the modern context, but we'll find out what is the most popular place today and what impact does that have on followers of Christ. We'll talk about it.
You know what we're about to do? We're about to get real. We're about to have conversations that Christians have behind closed doors. The ones that make you feel uncomfortable, that's where we going. Why? Because we're family. Ustedes son mi familia.
So this is the Brian and Jannelle podcast. She's Jannelle, I'm Brian, and if you don't want to miss anything, just hit that subscribe button. This is the Brian and Jannelle podcast. A new study is out about the most popular place to meet a spouse. And, things in this have changed over the years. There were many, many years where most cultures did arranged marriages.
Yes.
It was a way to gain wealth. It was a way to, royal weddings have for most of history been arranged.
Yeah. And that didn't go well recently. I actually know somebody that had an arranged marriage, and they're totally American. But it was
What? Like modern?
The pastor kind of picked. It was modern. And
Was this a cult or?
No.
Like, someone, like, what age?
Yeah, and
How old are they?
now they're maybe like late 30s. They're like a tad bit younger than me.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
And
And they're, in
who
fact,
bought it?
they're
Did they-
African American.
Did they
like,
consent
it's
to
not
this?
culture. They did consent, and it was like, you've never known people that have done it. It wasn't called arranged. It was
no.
like like the pastor pretty much was like, yeah, you guys should get married. Yeah, it was pretty weird.
Now, did they
I should get details.
date? Did they, or was it like,
No, it
I'm
was
your pastor,
courting.
you two shall be married now?
It was like courting. Like they knew, oh, okay, we go together. And so they got married. You've talked about it positively before, and I'm saying that because when you did that, I thought about that couple, and I was like, wow.
Well, I think a lot of nerd guys think it's a great idea.
But you've even talked about the the logic behind it. If somebody knows you and they know another person and they're influential in your life, that it could work.
Yeah.
Like a setup. Yeah.
Yes. I'm just still kind of in
She
shock.
wasn't forced. It wasn't like because I know in some cultures it's forced.
Mm-hmm.
She trusted. It was like a trust thing. They both did. It was like, okay.
Well, and in theory, I don't believe in soulmates. Like, I don't think there's only one person out there for you. I think the Lord gives us a guideline, so we should marry believers. And at the end of the day, marriage is a whole lot of work anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's impossible that would work.
Yeah.
It's just so countercultural.
Isn't it?
I just,
Yeah.
because what I was going to do is share with you, I know of an arranged marriage, but it was a long time ago.
Was it culture?
My
go ahead.
great-grandmother.
Okay.
So my grandma was born in 1912. I have no idea when her mother was born. So somewhere in the 1800s. She was living in South Dakota on a farm, and her parents and the neighbor's parents or somebody in town, they decided, hey, you've got two girls, we got two boys, so we should put them together.
How early
And the parents,
in her life?
I don't know exactly how old they were. I would imagine like late teens, maybe. And so the story goes that one day the parents of the boys brought the boys over to the girls' house.
Yeah.
They met the girls, one of them my great-grandmother, and then the boys went off and went into a closet somewhere and kind of debated who would get which one.
No. My goodness.
And then when they had decided, they came out and they're like, all right, I'll take that one.
What? That is crazy.
Well,
Wow.
is it though? You just talked about some pastor saying like,
Yeah, I
"Oh
mean,
well,
that's what
I
they
now
did.
you two shall be married."
Yeah.
Yes, pastor. Now we court.
I don't know if I would do that.
Do
I don't
what?
know. I'm saying I told you I know somebody that did it. That doesn't mean I don't think it's crazy. That's crazy. Like, how do you know you'll have chemistry? How do you know you have interests that you share?
And in some
That's
respects, though,
weird.
doesn't the chemistry you get when you're dating kind of wear off, and you have to rebuild what love is when you're married anyway? Right? I mean, like
Yeah.
this.
And in this case, they probably had less available options.
Yeah.
So the girls were probably like, you know what, I could take this guy, and from what we know, his family's good, he's hardworking, all the above, or I could run the risk of being an quote unquote old maid, which
Yeah.
was, the worst thing that could ever happen in those days from their point of view.
Well, because you survived based whether you had property or not.
Yeah.
I mean, Ron, you're so right. The world was so small for people for many, not even that long ago.
Yeah.
That what were you going to take a plane? No. Were you going to get on a train and go dating? I mean, have a
Right.
pen pal? I mean, you really were stuck with whoever was in your county.
Right.
And that might be a huge stretch. Probably your town.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you better hope there's a lot of cute girls in town. I don't know. I mean,
Well, they all came to my house.
Wow.
Not
but
true.
do you recall ever being concerned that you'd meet someone?
Yes. In fact, I was told by peers that I would never meet what I was looking for.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, whoa. Okay, so we're going to
Yeah.
dig in deep to that juicy tidbit here after we take a
Okay.
quick break. Hey, it's Brian. I've got one little request. Now, I'm not good at tap dancing, so I will not tap dance around it. So here it is. We need your money. Okay, that was a little direct, but it's true. We're part of Moody Radio Cleveland, and we're a listener-supported ministry. So people like you who listen to this podcast every week faithfully, and we're grateful for you, you are the ones who keep every episode coming out time and again. And it's not cheap to keep radio stations and podcasts running. So would you prayerfully consider a donation to this ministry? Super easy to do that. Go to moodyradio.org/Cleveland. Again, moodyradio.org/Cleveland. And you can follow links there to get your gift in safely and securely right now. Thanks. In a few minutes, we'll get to this survey, study that found out where most people meet a spouse today compared to yesteryear.
Yeah.
It doesn't go back far
Oh.
enough to cover arranged marriages or anything,
Yeah.
but it goes back.
Mail order brides?
Let me
What?
check. No, but
Yeah, it doesn't have that.
Jannelle accidentally said something that's a lot of fun here. So I was asking whether she worried about whether she'd meet anybody. I know I did. I mean,
You
Oh, yeah.
worried?
Sure.
Guys worry?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Ron-
About that, I didn't know.
well, and Ron, how old were you when you met Dana?
Probably 28 or 29, because we got married when I was 30.
And you'd already traveled to Guam and lived there for a few years.
Yeah.
In ministry, and weren't married at the time, obviously.
Right. I went through all the Guamanian women, and none of them stuck, so I had to come back.
So you were you worried about that?
Yeah. I got to the point where I started doing the math in my head, thinking, okay, if I get married now and have a child, within a couple of years, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to be like 50 when he graduates. And at that, from 30, 50 looked like an ancient old man.
Right. Well, right. Yeah.
And I didn't want to be, the grandpa. Everybody else is out there with their young dads all doing their thing, and I'm the old man with a cane. Yes, son, you're doing great. Keep it up.
Oh, cute! You brought your grandpa to your soccer game.
Yeah.
That's my dad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I saw a coach make that mistake once.
Yeah, my brother had a friend whose dad was old,
Oh, really?
and it was a thing. But one of my goals in life was to get married and have kids. Something I wanted and I longed for, and so I was concerned about it. I wanted to meet somebody. Your friends told you, Jannelle, that you'd never meet someone. That's so nice.
Yeah.
What encouraging friends you have.
Now,
You're so annoying. No one's ever going to marry
I
you.
know. Now, remember, I didn't have a lot of friends when I was a teen. So it would be like my friends' friends where they would like hang with me, but they didn't connect with me. And so I just knew what I was looking for. And
You vocalize that.
Yeah. And so I wouldn't have like a lot of boyfriends, or I didn't do a lot of the stuff that the girls did because I knew I had a goal and I was on my way to college and I wanted somebody that shared where I was going. And so in the circles I ran, minus my private school, I didn't hang out with those kids. It was just not around. And so I was just like, I'm not settling.
Were you worried though? It sounds like you weren't worried. You're like,
For some
I'm gonna
reason,
find a man.
I was not worried, but I was young. I met Len when I was 19. So
okay.
But when I met him, I knew I wasn't, because I told him I'm not in love yet. But
That's
knew.
not what you said, by the way. You said, I don't love you.
I don't love you, because he fell in love before I did. But I knew, whoa, like, he might be it. And not the soulmate kind, but he had what I was looking for.
What was the list? It has lots of cars that don't work.
No. Yeah, I know, right?
Sets lots of rules.
Oh, my goodness. He's nailing it. Hello.
Trips up escalators.
I did want a college graduate, but I know we talk a lot about, first, my generation's different than what we got going on now. And second, I'm a first-generation immigrant, and so college was a big deal. I was first in my family.
It was important to your dad.
It was important to my dad, yeah. So that was a big deal. And also to value purity when it came to sexuality. That was just like, if you say that out loud, at least where I grew up, it's like, are you serious? You're going to be alone for a long time. That kind of thing. And so when I met him, when you have those kind of conversations, you hear early on people's values. And that's where I was just like, wow, this is it. But I heard throughout my young years, like when I hung out with the teenagers, man, you're going to be alone. So that hearing it at the moment was discouraging, but I knew I can't settle.
Were you looking for a man to finish your dinner on a date if you didn't finish it?
I know, right?
Were you
Wow,
looking for that?
I was looking for a man to be like my dad, a hard worker.
You gonna eat that?
Look at you. Yeah, he sure did. We ain't wasting food. Give me your food. Yeah, but it's interesting to hear that men think about that.
You thought we didn't worry about that?
Because women do a lot, and women push men when it comes to dating. We rush men more. Men act like they're not trying to get serious. So a lot of times we talk about women being the ones more concerned about, I want to get married. Am I going to get the ring? Why is he waiting around? That kind of thing.
Well, see, I can't speak for all men. I certainly can't speak for men, like young men today. I don't know what they're doing. At least my peers who follow Jesus when I was of marrying age.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think there was one of us who was like, nah, man, I want to play the field.
Yeah.
I'm going to be out there with all these girls. No, we all had expectations.
That's
of
encouraging.
Wanting to.
Yeah.
But was I with a bunch of weirdos?
No. I remember a plaque that I got like in my early teens that was called the Teen Creed. And one of those things was like, choose only a date who would make a good mate. Because they had little rhymes, yeah.
Look at that. Wow.
And I followed that. I thought that's important.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if you're just dating the field, I want to try a little bit of everything at the smorgasbord. Well, then you might start being emotionally attached.
Yeah.
To one of the girls, and it will be harder to break that because she may not be a good mate, but you get to like her, and then it's hard to break up. So invest some thought into it beforehand was one of my critiques.
Yeah.
So is that conception Jannelle had of men? Is that where does that come from? Are there tons of dudes like that, or is that just what's on TV, or what's the?
I think it is a media thing, especially. Well, maybe not. I was going to say, especially in the African American community, because I see that in the rap/hip hop culture that, you always got a different girl and you treat them like dog poop and, and they just keep coming back because you're so great. But that's the media, I think. I don't think that's a real thing.
It's a media thing partly because I want to say I'm Latino. So with Latino men and let's say African Americans, and because I can't speak of other cultures, I'm not saying we're the only ones with issues. It all depends on the circles you run. I have seen where there are a lot of, I'll pick the Latino men, a lot of Latino men that are trying to play the field, that are not trying to settle down, all of that. But what I would always say since I was young is that you get what you kind of get around with. So if those are the kind of men you're going to date, then that's what you're going to get. And so that's kind of what I would tell my friends. Like, they're not all like that. So if you're going to go to certain places, let's say find a man at the nightclub, then that's what you're going to get. You're going to get him, and then don't complain he doesn't want to settle down. And I know I'm generalizing, but I'm saying there are those groups that have issues. So you got to be picky in terms of where you search for husband material.
I think I figured it out then. It must be just the nerdy white guys that
yes,
really would like to
thank
settle
you.
down.
Exactly.
So Ron and I can speak for that group.
Exactly, right.
So there's an interesting study about how much it's changed these days from the olden days when we all were dating and doing our thing. And so here's the information we need. Even though online dating started taking off between the 1990s and the 2000s, the internet remained the least popular place for people to meet a spouse. In the 90s, it registered at 1%.
Yeah, those were the days that it was like weird. Right? I mean, there was a time that it's like, what are you doing?
What is your problem?
Yeah.
And you had to you had to go, has anybody on the phone?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, yes. Then you finally find the one and then it drops. Yeah.
And you're waiting like 20 minutes later. And
yo, how did we do it? Oh.
And then it was some weird girl that you don't even...
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, 1%.
Or it was a guy pretending to be a girl
you didn't know.
he could joke you.
You didn't know?
Yeah.
So, and then it just zoomed up in the 2000s to 7%.
Wow.
Still really small.
For real, yeah.
I mean, what year were you married again? 1993.
99. I was a baby in 93. That would make
that
like
math
99.
doesn't work. Were you a child bride?
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's crazy. 7% in the 2000s.
I was born I was born in 1979. We were married in 2003.
Okay.
But I mean, based on this, it was the vast majority of people were not meeting a spouse on the internet. So by the 2010s, however, it jumped up to 21% of couples said they'd met their spouse online. The same percentage as those who met their spouses at work, a bar, or elsewhere. Now, I'm not telling you a bar is a good place to me. I'm just telling you what the survey says.
Right. Yeah.
So if you're upset, Jannelle.nevels@moody.edu. The percentage who said they met their spouse at school shrank to 7% in the 2010s.
Wow.
I can see, I totally understand why. Do you know why?
Why?
Why would you think it shrank?
So you want me to, I don't know, so let me think about it.
I'm saying, aren't you supposed to be smart?
I never said that.
Okay, so.
Why? You tell me. I don't have any idea.
I thought at first, wow, that's weird. That's out of nowhere. But then if you think about it, around that time, although I'm not I don't do my own statistics, the age of marriage went up. So I can see why, because I know a lot of people in my time met their spouse in college and then got married. But now you're getting into the late 20s, early 30s. So whoever you were dating in college is probably not going to marry you. You move on, you get a job.
Well, and it also got a lot harder to find a great man at that point because Ron was married and so was I. So
right, exactly.
Yeah. The great guys were taken.
Yeah.
But what's interesting in the 2010s, of course, if 21% of couples said they met their spouses online, that wasn't the top one.
Yeah.
Couples who met through friends, family, and neighbors had a better ranking at 30%, which was still a pretty sizable amount higher.
Yeah.
30%. Again, through friends, family, and neighbors is how they met their
personal
spouse.
references.
That's how you met Dana, right? Was a personal reference.
Yeah.
It was from a friend's friend?
Yeah, ultimately my sister-in-law.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
But at the time, that wasn't the case.
Right.
It was your friend's roommate's cousin's uncle's daughter?
Yeah, something along those lines.
Uncle's daughter, that'd be her.
Oh, okay.
Either way, okay. And I met Sarah at work.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a summer job, but I met her at work. You met at school. So by 2017, though, the proportion of couples who'd met online reached 28% of weddings and overtook the proportion of those who met their family and met through family and friends.
What?
The only other place that showed an increase in 2017 among places where people meet their spouse was at a workplace.
Yeah.
And the number of people who met spouses at work was 24%. So, but still, the highest at 28, starting in 2017, was meeting your spouse online.
Yeah.
How you feel about that? Feel good about that?
Crazy.
With Jannelle's point of the marriage age going up, that does make sense on some of this, that the married at work would normally probably be the highest, but the whole school thing, unless it was, a long term that you kept in touch, at least, if not continued dating for a long time, but usually you're at school, or I shouldn't say usually because that obviously has changed, but let's say you were at school, you met a girl, you dated during your college years or even your high school years, and then get married. You get out of school, establish a little bit, and get married. Some get married while they're at school.
Yeah.
Is this discouraging, though? You think if let's say you're a single believer, really, if you want to meet somebody, do you think it'll be at work or online? That's where you're going to meet somebody.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's discouraging because people are still meeting people. The online thing, I imagine, gives you a little more like distance to weed through some people. But then again, it lacks the personal.
Yeah.
Like in school, you know how the person acts to other people because you can observe them, from somewhat of a distance, but right in classroom with you.
Yeah, and there is something to that, isn't there? Like I met people over the years that I dated a little while or whatever that that I might not have gone out with if I was just swiping to the right or whatever, or left. Or which way do you swipe? I don't know.
I don't know. Left. I think it's left.
To the left?
Yeah, Beyonce would say
Go
that.
ahead.
Well, but it's like really personality is part of attractiveness, is it not?
Right.
I mean, Len probably saw you like freaking out over in the corner.
Yeah, like, whoa, she's nothing like me. I want her. But I was going to say, though, I was wondering, too, are people going more online because specifically because other things aren't working versus intentionally saying, no, I think this is better. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, are we missing the mark in other areas? Let's say, for example, friends and family, being intentional and helpful in connecting singles, whether it's at church or over dinner. Are we, are people doing it because it's like there are no places to meet? Let's say the mall where everybody's sitting at home online. We're becoming less social. And friends are becoming less kind of engaged in my life to connect people. And so now here I got to go online. Is it that's creating?
I don't see. We can't know for certain if it's what you're saying, or if it's just that it's just cool to meet somebody online now at work, and it's not fashionable to introduce somebody or set them up. That could equally be the issue.
Yeah.
Because it is so easy to register for some sort of online dating thing,
easy,
and everybody else there wants to be dating. I mean, part of the mystery and fear of the dating life for nerds like Ron and me was like, does this girl have a boyfriend? Does she want to go out with anybody? You don't know.
Yeah.
Right. And here, at least you do know that first step has already been taken. Yes, I am interested in dating someone.
Yeah.
Maybe it's you.
It's easy, but it's a big step.
To go online?
Yeah. Like, to make, you don't think, or maybe now it's more normalized, but it's a big step. Like, it's awkward.
Do you want to know what awkward is? Then
you get that first message, and then it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's a big step. What is awkward?
My friend Tony and I, when we were in high school, we thought we had this great plan to meet girls. So what we did is we went to the Mall of America in Bloomington, Minnesota, the mega mall.
How old were you?
It was probably like 16 or 17, maybe.
Okay.
And we'd find like this really busy spot by all the restaurants on like the third or fourth floor of the Mall of America. And we'd sit on a bench and wait for the ladies to come.
That's weird.
And wait.
So an awesome girl walks by, what would you do?
Just look cooler than we did the moment before.
Would you try to start conversation? Like, how do you randomly?
No.
I was about to say.
What, you think I had the courage to start a conversation?
Oh my
What's
goodness.
up? I mean, I might do one of those like, what's up? Like head nod things. It's hard to do on the radio, but like, what's up? with your head, but you don't say it.
Oh my goodness.
Ask me how many times it worked.
How many times?
0.
No. Oh my goodness.
We looked cool though. I mean, they missed out.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
They missed out. There is an interesting twist, though, in these statistics about one of the downfalls of meeting your spouse online. Actually found out that none of us know what we're talking about.
Why?
And I'm certain that millennials and Gen Z folks were just laughing at us talking about swiping.
Oh, yeah.
Kelly has informed us that you swipe right
Wow.
because that's that person's right. Is that what we decided, Kelly?
Yes.
What happens when you swipe left?
Then you're like you don't like their profile.
Oh.
Do you find out? Does someone like? Are you notified? You've been swiped left.
No, you aren't notified.
Well, that's good. That'd be
which
demoralizing.
Is nice. Yeah.
But anyway, we're talking about online dating. How it's went from in the 1990s, 1% of married couples met online. The 2000s creeped up to 7%. By the 2010s, it was 21%, and by 2017, it became the most popular place to meet your spouse, with a second place being work. So I guess family and friends aren't allowed or just aren't doing their job
Yeah,
anymore.
right, exactly.
But here's the interesting part, I think, that puts a twist to it. People who meet their spouses online have a greater risk of divorcing in the first 3 years. Among those who married since the year 2000, couples who met online had significantly higher divorce rates, but only during the first 3 years of marriage. Analyze that.
Okay, so for those who didn't do their what they were supposed to be doing when they were dating, this is me. Okay, ready? This is going to be expert Jannelle. You're online and you see everything. So you're thinking because people put their information. So you're banking on that. Like, okay, I saw this stuff, kind of date a little bit, still kind of counting on what you saw online. And then you get married because you're adults. We're not in our teens anymore. And so you get married earlier than usual. And then in the first 3 years, you find out the truth. You find it out early. So it don't take 10 years. And that's why it's higher in the early years.
I think that's a reasonable explanation. I mean, I would also say that it's quite possible that one of the issues is people are allowed now to have an unrealistic list.
Okay.
Where your standards can be higher. You're sifting through way more people than you ever could interpersonally.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And so you can have this super high level list. You find someone that meets those qualifications, and then, of course, they're a sinner.
Yeah.
And so your mind was set too high. Your expectations were too high.
But even if it was, the solution to that would be if you found somebody you kind of click with, even if they have all this stuff that's not real, if you date organically the way you would have anyways, you would find that stuff out. So it doesn't have to happen that way.
I think akin to what Brian is pointing out on the other side, though, you can control a lot more of what the information you put out about yourself.
Yeah.
So in IRL, in real life dating, you are seeing that person and you see much more about him or her. But if they're controlling the narrative of what they put up online, you won't see that near as much until you get to that point, where you are in real life and you're closer to the actual marriage.
Well, and then more than that, I think Paula Abdul was right in the 1990s.
Go ahead.
You take 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. We come together because...
Opposites attract. Woo!
But does that fit for compatibility? I'd like you to find the opposite of me. I don't think that's how compatibility works in a modern sense. People are like, oh, I like music. This person should like music.
Yeah.
I like
yeah.
this. They should like that too.
Yeah. And what kind of music?
Right. And you can get down that
Yeah.
specific. But quite
Yeah.
frankly, in my experience, I'm pretty sure in yours, and Ron, I think in yours too, opposites have created the ability to be successful,
Total opposites.
not compatibility.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's
to a point.
compatibility in terms of values. I mean, you
Right.
got to be compatible.
Values,
Yeah.
sure. Faith.
Yeah. Well,
Because
yeah.
because
That's a given,
I
yeah.
think the fundamental principle that God expects is that we not be unequally yoked, that you marry
Yeah.
a follower of Christ. Other than that, there's really, I don't think there's any other expectation other than whatever you're interested in.
But there is a solution. If you're online, everything you guys are saying is like early on in the dating relationship. If you give it time and you're wise and you get around good counsel, wise, godly counsel, you can find this stuff out before you get married. So it doesn't have to be dangerous when it comes to you're more likely to get divorced. It doesn't have to be. I think you make decisions that would make it that way.
Yeah, possibly, though. I'm even thinking back to, dating in the 90s and 2000s. Like,
Yeah.
you don't know anything about somebody when you're just like, ooh, she's cute.
Exactly.
And you slowly learn there's some qualities about them you like, but you're much more likely to find someone who isn't ideally compatible.
Yeah.
I mean, even for you and Len, you're just looking for somebody who's got a college degree, tall, dark, handsome.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're out of college.
Yeah.
There you go. Done. But what did you really know about him? You didn't know anything about him.
Wait, are you talking
When
about
you first met Len?
When we first, well, no, I did, because I knew people that knew him and spoke highly of him and talked about him to me.
But
and his mom
knew him in a profile sense, like he likes pina coladas and getting caught in the rain.
not in
and-
the profile sense, but in a value sense. And so I had an idea.
Len's
and
concerned people think he likes pina coladas.
That
He
actually
does
came
not.
up in the article in terms of when we were meeting people more organically in the past with friends of friends or whatever, you had more background. It's not total strangers. I'm
I
sure
don't
you
know.
had more background with Dana than
Yeah.
you would have if you would have met her online.
Right.
Are you guys the exception or the rule?
Wow.
I guess if you meet through family or friends, you'd know something. But I'm not. I mean, there's a level of detail you can get to in compatibility and online surveys that are just, I think, not possible, unless your best friend introduced you to their best friend that you didn't know about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some like eHarmony are designed for that to really filter a lot of things out. But then maybe, the whole opposite thing, maybe they filter out people who would have been a really good match for you because they match up in their questionnaire.
Well, our friend Kathleen used to always talk about, she met a guy at some point when she was in college that she dated that was just like her. He loved musical theater. He loved improv. And she said that she realized as much fun as they had, they'd get nothing done in life.
Yeah.
Like she ultimately was most compatible with her husband, Nathan, who is her opposite in many
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
And so they create really great balance. But the guy she was most, quote unquote, compatible with was really just not a good fit. She just knew it after a while. But they had lots of, it was like, we just spent 4 hours making macaroni. Pray for the single folks. It's a challenge these days, but I think it's interesting to see that the majority of people who are married meet online now. That's where it happens.
Yeah.
We don't know exactly why that is, but it is the thing that happens.
Hey, hold up. Where are you going? You know you liked your time with us. You want more. So go ahead, look down, hit that button right there and subscribe, and you'll get updated episodes, and then you can hang some more.
And guess what? You can help us out. How? A 5-star rating.
You can also hang with us live weekday mornings from 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Download the Moody Radio mobile app, and you're able to connect with us.
Or just go to brianandjanelle.org.
And listen, we didn't put all this together all by ourselves. There's some great people behind this production. We want to thank Ron Eastwood, Kelly Ryder, Paul Carter, Mike Reynolds, Alan Perry, and our awesome and fearless leader, Josue Villa.
And finally, this podcast is a production of Moody Radio in Cleveland, a ministry of Moody Bible Institute.